Rooftop engagement? Only for interns. My family mocked me. My father said, return the $20,000 we spent on you. I stayed quiet until my secret villa purchase proved I wasn't broke, and they yelled, how did you afford this? And my lawyer. I had always known my family would never clap for me, but I didn't expect them to boo. My name is Mason. I'm 34 years old, living in Minneapolis with my fiancée, Isabel. I'm an architect, not the flashy kind that designs billion-dollar towers in Dubai. More the local, eco-conscious type who renovates historic buildings and dreams of sustainable city spaces. I love what I do, but to my family, I've always been a cautionary tale, a waste of potential, the kid who never quite got it together. So when I told them Isabel and I were planning an engagement party, I already braced myself for some snide comments. What I didn't expect was a full-on demolition. We'd picked a rooftop greenhouse cafe in Northeast, one of those cozy little spots with string lights and wild herbs growing along the railings. It wasn't fancy, but it was beautiful, a place that felt like us. When I told my parents and my sister Clara over brunch at their country club, the reaction was immediate. A greenhouse. My mom repeated, stirring her coffee like it had insulted her. Like, with plants? Clara snorted. Is this some millennial hipster thing? Are you going to serve food out of mason jars too? I tried to smile. It's actually a really cool venue. Sunset views, all glass walls. We thought. You thought wrong. My dad cut in, setting his fork down with a loud clink. You're throwing your engagement party at a budget lunch spot for interns? That stung. My father had spent 40 years as a corporate executive, the kind who wears cufflinks and only dines at places with valet. To him, anything that didn't scream exclusive was beneath notice. It's a celebration, I said, forcing my voice to stay even. It doesn't have to be about showing off. It's about being with people we care about. My dad gave me a long look, then leaned back in his chair like he was about to deliver a verdict. Let me ask you something. Do you remember that 20 grand I gave you after grad school? I blinked. Yeah, I used it to start my first firm. Exactly, he said. And what did I say back then? You said it was an investment. He nodded. Right. Life support and growth opportunity. Now, years later, you're hosting your engagement party in a tomato shed. You think I want to invite my colleagues to that? I felt my face heat. It's not a tomato shed. You should refund the party budget and put it toward paying me back, he added. Like that settled it. 20 grand, plus interest. I laughed, but it came out bitter. Are you serious? He looked me dead in the eye. I'm done wasting money on failure. Clara chimed in before I could respond. It's just sad. I mean, you're getting engaged, and this is your big moment? A garden cafe? It sounds like a birthday party at a food court. My mother nodded in agreement. Couldn't you have at least picked a hotel ballroom? Something with a dress code. I stared at them, all three. I realized then that I could have announced we were getting married on the moon, and they'd still find a way to be disappointed. Isabel wasn't there, thank God, but I wish she could have seen it. Maybe then she'd understand why I kept her separate from them, why I never let her hear the way they talked about me when they thought I wasn't listening. I didn't say anything else, just stood up, left enough cash on the table to cover my share, and walked out. Back in the car, I sat for a long time with my hands on the wheel. My phone buzzed with a new text from Clara. We're family, Mason. Just being honest. I didn't reply. They didn't know that I had something they didn't. Not money, not status, but something else. Something they would never see coming. I'd been quiet too long. That was about to change. The first message came before I even made it home from the brunch. It was from Clara. Clara, you should have stayed for dessert. The club got this pistachio cake that's more exciting than your engagement party. That was just the warm-up. Over the next few hours, the real flood started. Dad group chat, I hope your friends like basil on everything. I hear that's how they garnish the disappointment. Mom, why are you being so sensitive? It's not our fault you don't know how to plan an event with taste. I sat on the edge of the bed, phone in hand, watching the comments roll in like waves. Isabel was in the shower. I didn't want her to see this. Not yet. Clara, maybe try crowdfunding your wedding too. Go fund my mediocre marriage. That one made me flinch. It wasn't just the words. It was the ease, the tone. Like they were gossiping about a neighbor's ugly yard instead of trashing my life's biggest moment. Like I was a spectacle, a joke in their private theater. I didn't respond to any of it. I didn't defend myself. I didn't block them either. I just started saving everything. Screenshots, message threads, date-stamped receipts of cruelty. Not because I had a plan. Not yet. But because I knew better than to let things disappear. An hour later, I saw the post. It was a picture of my family at dinner. Same country club. My dad in the center, raising a glass like some benevolent emperor. Clara leaning in with a smile too wide to be real. My mom, pearl earrings glowing under the chandelier. Caption, some bonds are built on love, loyalty, and class. Others? Well, not everyone makes the guest list. The comments made it worse. Linda from tennis. You have the most beautiful family, Robert. So glad you can focus on the ones who matter. Clara. Real ones only. I stared at it until the screen blurred. Not from tears. From something colder. Angrier. I hadn't even told Isabel yet. She thought they'd been difficult, sure, but she didn't know the scope. She didn't know they had crossed the line from passive disapproval to open mockery. Until that moment, I think I still wanted them to come around. I wanted one of them, any of them, to text something like, sorry, we were harsh, or we just want the best for you. But that was never going to happen. To them, I was a cautionary tale in khakis. The artsy brother who made weird career choices and talked too much about solar roofs and community grants. They didn't understand me, so they decided I was beneath them, and that made me safe to mock. So I made a folder, labeled it June Humiliation. I saved the screenshots, the post, the comments, even their reactions to my silence. I wasn't planning revenge. Not yet, but I wanted the truth on record. I wanted evidence. Because something told me this wasn't over, that they wouldn't stop at text and snide jokes. And I was right. That night, Isabel came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her head, face still warm and damp. "You okay?" she asked, glancing at my phone. "Yeah," I lied, locking the screen. "Just group chat nonsense." She sat beside me, curling one leg under her. "I'm really excited about the party," she said softly. "It's so us." I looked at her then. Really looked. She didn't know yet, and I didn't have the heart to tell her. Not tonight. Instead, I kissed her temple and said, "Me too." But deep inside, something in me was changing. Their cruelty wasn't just hurting me. It was pushing me somewhere I hadn't been before. Somewhere sharper, focused. They thought I'd stay silent, take the hit like always. But this time, they were wrong. This time, I was taking notes. It started with a $189 charge at some boutique furniture site I'd never heard of. I was checking my banking app out of habit, flipping through recent transactions while waiting for a meeting to start. It caught my eye because I hadn't bought anything recently, not in that price range, and certainly not from Olive Fern Interiors. I flagged it, assuming it was fraud. Some card skimmer, maybe. But then I saw another charge. 2 days earlier, $72.91 at a gourmet coffee subscription box. Then $58.70 at a linen store. All small enough to avoid suspicion, but definitely not mine. I felt my chest tighten. There was only one person who still had access to that card. My mother. I'd given her the emergency credit card years ago, back when I was still clinging to the idea that we could have a normal relationship if I just tried hard enough. She had called once saying their gas bill had spiked, and I'd told her, "Fine, just use this. Emergencies only." She never gave it back. I pulled the statements. 3 months worth of charges. Candles, skincare, brunches, floral arrangements, even a streaming service I didn't recognize. Over $2,700. I scrolled slower. My hands were shaking. I knew I should have canceled it ages ago, but I hadn't. I'd been scared of the fight, of the lecture, of being ungrateful. Then I saw the loan. It wasn't just the card. There was a new account on my credit report. A personal loan for $15,000 taken out just 3 weeks earlier. I didn't remember applying for it, but it was in my name. That's when the panic hit. I called the bank immediately. "I need to file a fraud report," I said, voice low and tight. "Of course," the rep replied. "Let's verify a few details." The loan was processed at our downtown branch. I froze. Downtown was near my dad's office, his old office. The account had been verified with a scanned ID. My ID, or rather, a copy of my ID. The rep continued, and the co-signer was Robert Turner, my father. That was the moment my panic turned into rage. After the call, I paced the living room, jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Isabel had gone to visit her sister for the weekend, and I was grateful for the silence. I needed to think. Instead, I pulled out my laptop and started pulling everything. Statements, screenshots, email confirmations, the PDF from the credit bureau showing the new loan, a photo of my actual ID from my files for comparison. The forgery wasn't even subtle, just lazy, cropped, low-res, but good enough to pass at a glance. I called Ryan. Ryan and I had gone to college together. He was a corporate attorney now, the kind who knew how to dissect contracts and crush people in suits with a single footnote. He picked up on the second ring. "Mason, hey, I need to ask you something. How bad is it if someone takes out a loan in your name using your ID?" He paused. "They forged your ID?" "Yes. And they used a credit card I gave them for emergencies to buy throw pillows." "Who?" "My mom for the card, my dad for the loan." There was a longer pause. Then Ryan's tone shifted, colder, sharper. "You have evidence?" "Everything. Screenshots, statements. I'm putting it in a folder now. That's fraud. Criminal fraud. Identity theft. If the co-signer was your father, and he used forged documents, that's a felony." I rubbed my temple. "And if I don't press charges, then nothing happens. And they do it again. Or worse." He didn't have to say the rest. I already knew it. After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table staring at the manila folder I'd started filling. I didn't want to do this. Not really. But what choice did I have? They hadn't just mocked my engagement. They hadn't just made jokes about how I wasn't successful enough for a proper venue. They'd stolen from me, lied to me, opened a line of credit under my name with the same care you'd use to order takeout. And for what? To buy more things they didn't need? To live a life they couldn't afford, using my name as the foundation? They'd always seen me as a burden. Now I saw them for what they were. A liability. I picked up the folder, labeled it legal prep. My hands had stopped shaking. Let them come. This time, I'd be ready. I told Isabel everything that night. We were sitting on the couch, a takeout box between us, untouched. I had gone quiet halfway through the meal. She kept asking what was wrong until I finally set down my fork and said, "I need to tell you something about my parents." Her eyes softened immediately. "Is this about the texts?" I nodded. "That's part of it. But there's more." So I told her about the credit card, the forged loan, the downtown branch, my dad's name, the fake ID, everything. I showed her the folder, the screenshots, the PDF files. She didn't interrupt. Not once. Just listened, her face going paler with every word. When I was done, she sat back slowly. Mason, this isn't just messed up. This is a crime. I know, and you have to confront them. I swallowed. I was thinking of going to a lawyer. No, she said gently, but firmly. Not just that. You need to say it out loud. To them. Not for their sake. For yours. I nodded. I didn't say I was scared. I didn't have to. That night, I posted something. Not the screenshots. Not the details. Just a quiet, direct post to my personal page. Family is supposed to protect you. Sometimes, though, they're the ones who hurt you the most. I've stayed quiet for years. I won't anymore. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't long, but it hit like a spark in dry brush. By morning, it had over 100 comments. Friends from college, co-workers, a few distant cousins I barely spoke to. One by one, they started replying. Jake M., dude, I know exactly what you mean. If you ever want to talk, I've got stories. Rena T., good for you. I stayed silent way too long. Wishing you strength. Jess W., we always wondered why you seemed so tired around your folks. Now I get it. The messages kept coming. Quiet confessions, private DMs, people I hadn't talked to in years telling me how they'd been manipulated, stolen from, or made to feel worthless by their own blood. It was surreal and comforting. I wasn't alone. That afternoon, I got a text from my dad. Dad, delete that post now, or you'll regret it. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, another message. Dad, this is slander. You want a lawsuit? You'll get one. I kept you afloat for decades. My hands trembled, but not from fear, from rage. I wasn't a teenager anymore, begging him to see me. I wasn't some broke kid asking for approval. I was a grown man with receipts and a lawyer. So I ignored the message and opened another tab on my laptop. The villa had been sitting in my favorites list for weeks. An off-grid coastal home near Mendocino. Rainwater collection, solar panels, wide windows that faced the sea. Isabel and I had talked about it in whispers, like it was a dream too big to say out loud. But I'd been saving, quietly, carefully, every bonus, every freelance design gig, every extra check. I hadn't touched a cent of it, not even when my parents guilt me about student loans or falling behind in life. Now I clicked purchase. It was done. No mortgage, no debt, just paid, in full. I texted Isabel a screenshot of the receipt. She was across town at work. A second later, her reply came back. Isabel, you actually did it? Me, we did it. Come home. I want to show you the floor plans. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Let them sue. Let them rage. I had truth on my side. And finally, I had a home that was mine, not just in name, but in freedom. I made the reservation 2 weeks in advance. A sleek little spot downtown, the kind of restaurant my father would have approved of. White tablecloths, private booths, a wine list so long it needed its own binder. I knew they'd come if I said it was about moving forward. The invitation went out in a group message. Let's have dinner. Just us. I think it's time we talk. They replied within minutes. Dad, about time. We're not the enemy, Mason. Let's handle this like family. Clara, does this mean you've calmed down? Mom, thank you, sweetheart. I knew you'd come to your senses. That alone told me everything I needed to know. They still thought I was the one in the wrong. They still thought this dinner was about making amends. They had no idea. I showed up early, dressed sharp, in the suit Isabel had helped me pick out when I landed the Pacific Eco-Housing Project. Not flashy, just clean, respectable. I sat at the corner booth, ordered sparkling water, and waited. They arrived together. Clara in a beige dress that screamed influencer chic. My mom in a tailored blazer. My dad already pulling his phone from his jacket as he sat down. He barely looked at me. Good. Let's clear the air. I gave him a polite smile and opened the folder beside me. Sure. Let's start with this. Clara glanced at the folder. What is that? My voice stayed calm. Measured. A record of every charge made to my emergency credit card over the last 8 months. All by Mom. Totaling $2,743.68. My mother's face stiffened. I thought that was for family needs. Candles and throw pillows aren't needs. Dad leaned forward. Mason, come on. And this, I continued, sliding over a second sheet, is a loan agreement. $15,000. Taken out in my name. Co-signed by you. He stopped cold. His jaw tightened. I didn't. You used a copy of my ID. Forged my signature. The bank provided the scanned paperwork. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Clara let out a laugh, high and tight. Oh my God. Are you actually trying to sue Dad? I'm not trying anything, I said evenly. I've already filed the fraud report. The bank confirmed the forgery. You'll be hearing from them soon. My father's face darkened. You ungrateful little bastard. There it was. The real voice. The one behind all the birthday smiles and backhanded praise. You think you can embarrass us like this? He hissed. I'm not the one who committed identity theft, I replied. You did that all on your own. Then, quietly, behind us, another voice spoke up. Actually, the man said, stepping up to the table, you committed a federal offense. Clara turned. Who the hell? Ryan, I said, gesturing to the man beside me. My attorney. Ryan set his briefcase on the table with a quiet thud. Evening. I've prepared a full summary of the relevant charges. Fraud, forgery, unauthorized access to credit. We can settle this quietly, or not. Is this a setup? My mother snapped. You invited us here just to humiliate us? No, I said. I invited you here to tell the truth and to end this. My dad leaned back, red creeping up his neck. You think you're better than us now? You buy a few plants and call yourself a success? Better than you? I shook my head. No, just done with you. And then, from across the restaurant, another voice cut through the air. Mason. It was Mr. Halden, retired judge, family friend, the one my parents always tried to impress at fundraisers and galas. He walked toward our booth like a man who'd seen this play out before. Good evening, he said, nodding to Ryan, then turning to my parents. Robert, Margaret, Clara. My mother paled. What are you doing here? I asked him to come, I said. Why? Clara scoffed. Because he's known our family for over 20 years, I said. And because he's seen enough to know what you've done isn't just cruel, it's a pattern. Halden looked at them, disappointment carved into every line of his face. I watched you all turn a bright, decent young man into your scapegoat. I watched you mock him, ignore his work, and twist his success into failure. It ends now. Silence. For once, Clara had nothing to say. My dad tried to laugh it off, but even that sounded hollow. What? So you're going to exile us? Is that it? Your big dramatic exit? No drama, I said. Just a boundary. I slid the final envelope across the table. This is notice. You are no longer connected to any of my financial accounts. You are removed from all documents. I've updated my will, revoked access to everything. From this point on, I am no longer responsible for you. Emotionally, legally, financially. My mom's hands trembled as she opened it. She stared at the documents, then looked up. You're serious? I'm free, I said quietly. Mr. Halden nodded. And long overdue. I stood, buttoning my jacket. Ryan followed. So did Halden. At the edge of the table, I paused and looked at them one last time. I'm not the failure, I said. You just couldn't handle that I succeeded without you. Then I walked away. Behind me, no one called my name. No one apologized. And that told me everything. It took 3 weeks for the retaliation to land. I was walking Jasper, our rescue mutt with a personality far too large for his stubby legs, when the call came in. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. Mason Turner? The voice was clipped, professional. Yes, this is Linda Kim, legal assistant with McNair and Rowe LLP. You've been named as a defendant in a civil suit. We're serving you a notice this afternoon. I stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, Jasper tugging impatiently at the leash. What? She didn't flinch. Defamation of character, emotional distress, and theft of family assets. I hung up without another word. By noon, the courier handed me a thick envelope. Jasper barked at him, like he could smell the nonsense inside. I took the documents to Ryan. He read through them with a straight face until page 5, then burst out laughing. Your father's claiming you stole funds from the Turner legacy pool? He asked. There's no such thing. I know. And Clara says you caused her reputational harm in the professional arena by calling her manipulative in front of a judge? Apparently. Ryan tossed the packet aside. They're bluffing. It's noise, but we'll take it seriously. I stared at the wall behind him, jaw tight. They're willing to lie under oath. They already did, he said. But they picked the wrong person this time. We went to work. Every file I had compiled, every screenshot, bank statement, email, even that passive-aggressive Facebook post was pulled into a legal timeline. Ryan's firm ran background checks, confirmed the forged loan application with a third-party notary who remembered my father's visit. She even had security footage from the day he came in with Clara. That part hit hard. I hadn't realized she'd helped him do it. Ryan filed the countersuit 2 days later. The motion was aggressive: financial fraud, identity theft, and harassment. Included were 3 years of records showing unauthorized access to my accounts, including the withdrawal Clara made from the college fund Isabel and I had started for our future kid, without ever asking. It wasn't just petty anymore. It was calculated. The reaction came quickly. My mother called first. Mason, sweetheart, she said, her voice trembling. You can't mean to go through with this. I'm not discussing the case, Mom. There's no case. It's family. You're tearing us apart. No, I said calmly. You already did. I'm just holding up a mirror. She started crying. Loud, dramatic. I hung up. Clara sent me a voice message later that night. I hope you're happy, she said bitterly. You've ruined everything. People at work are asking questions. You think this makes you look strong? It doesn't. It makes you look pathetic. I saved the message. Then I blocked her. My father didn't call. He sent a single email instead. Subject: enough. If you drag this family's name through court, you'll regret it. You think you're winning, but all you're doing is burning bridges. Don't say I didn't warn you. I flagged it and sent it to Ryan. We had the first hearing scheduled within a month. Ryan was calm, focused, but I could tell even he was stunned by the lengths they were going to. This is pathological, he said one night, reviewing Clara's deposition draft. They're lying like it's a performance, like they think they're on stage. They've always been that way. Not anymore, he said, snapping the folder shut. We're taking the stage now. That night, I told Isabel everything. I didn't try to downplay it. She took my hand across the table. I don't care what it costs, she said. Let's finish this. So we did. We sharpened the countersuit. We added harassment, emotional damages, and we filed for an injunction preventing further financial access or use of my name in any capacity. I wasn't just fighting for me anymore. I was making sure they never had a way back in. The courthouse was colder than I expected. Not in temperature, just in atmosphere. Gray walls, gray suits, gray faces. Like everyone had been scrubbed of emotion before walking in. Except me. I felt everything, and for once, I didn't try to hide it. Isabel was next to me, calm, unshakable, her hand on mine under the table as the bailiff called the room to order. Ryan sat to my right, notes stacked in front of him like weapons. Across the aisle, my family. Dad in his best navy blazer, the kind he used to wear to investor meetings. Mom beside him, sunglasses perched on her head like armor. Clara in all black, like she was auditioning for the role of the betrayed daughter. They looked like strangers. The judge entered, and everything began. Their attorney, a sleek guy with a voice like warm syrup, led the opening argument, tried to paint me as unstable, bitter, claiming my post had been a targeted smear campaign intended to destroy my family's reputation. He said my father had selflessly provided support for decades, that the loan was a misunderstanding, that Clara's withdrawal from the college fund was a temporary transfer between family members with the intent to repay. Ryan let him finish, didn't flinch. When our turn came, he stood slowly, like he had all the time in the world. Your Honor, he began, this isn't a family feud. This is financial abuse, fraud, and betrayal documented in black and white. He handed over the packet. The judge flipped it open. Page 1 was the scanned forged ID. From there, it was a slow unraveling. Ryan presented everything: the paper trail, the screenshots, the bank statements. Clara's Instagram story posted the same week she claimed she needed therapy money, healing my inner child in Bali, paid for by a fake withdrawal from my future kid's college account. He didn't even raise his voice. He didn't have to. My family tried to hold their composure. My dad sat stone-faced. My mom dabbed her eyes with a tissue that never actually got wet. Clara fidgeted with her bracelet like it was a ticking bomb. Then came the witness. Your Honor, we'd like to call Mr. Harold Halden. The courtroom door opened, and in walked the man who had once stood beside my father at charity events. The man who had been part of our lives for decades. He took the stand, raised his hand, swore the oath, and then he dismantled them. I've known the Turners since Mason was a child, he began, and I've watched a pattern of manipulation unfold year after year. Emotional control disguised as tradition, cruelty passed off as jokes, financial exploitation justified as family support. I tried to intervene once. I was told to mind my business. He turned and looked straight at my parents. Robert, you made your son believe he was worthless unless he was earning. Margaret, you watched it happen. And Clara, you were taught that love is transactional. So you treated Mason like a wallet, not a brother. No one spoke. The judge didn't interrupt, just sat, watching, taking notes. After Halden stepped down, Ryan rested our case. And then it was my turn. I stood, walked slowly to the center of the courtroom. I didn't want to be here, I said. I didn't want any of this. But I had to make a choice. Keep being the family punching bag, or finally stand up for myself. I looked directly at my father. You told me I was a failure when I picked architecture over finance. Said I was soft. Said I'd come crawling back. But I didn't. I built something. Then at Clara, you mocked my engagement, laughed at the party I planned. Then you stole from me, not just money, but from the future Isabel and I were building. Then my mother. You watched it all, and called it love. I turned back to the judge. I'm not angry anymore. I'm done with that. I just want peace. And to make sure they never get to do this again. To me, or anyone else. When I sat down, the courtroom was silent. The judge reviewed the files. Took a long moment, then finally spoke. In this matter, the court finds in favor of the defendant and counterclaimant, Mason Turner. I exhaled. The evidence presented shows a pattern of exploitation, forgery, and emotional manipulation. Restitution will be paid in full. A restraining order is issued prohibiting further contact regarding financial matters. Additionally, the forged loan is to be removed from Mr. Turner's credit history immediately. He paused. This isn't just a legal decision, he added quietly. It's a human one. Mr. Turner, you showed restraint in the face of abuse. And you took the correct path. Legally, ethically, personally. He banged the gavel. Case closed. My father stood up abruptly, muttering something under his breath as he stormed out. My mother followed, clutching her purse like it was the last thread holding her together. Clara lagged behind, her face blank. I didn't watch them go. Isabel reached for my hand, and I held on tight. Outside, the sun was blinding, warm. I had walked into that building carrying a decade of shame. I walked out free. It didn't take long for the cracks to show. The court ruling made the rounds faster than I expected. Not through newspapers or headlines, just quiet whispers among old acquaintances, former colleagues of my father, Clara's PR contacts, and, apparently, a few nosy neighbors who had nothing better to do than scroll the public court records. By the end of the week, the story had leaked in all the ways that mattered. Suddenly, my parents were no longer hosts of the neighborhood wine nights. Invitations stopped arriving. Their friends stopped tagging them in brunch photos. Someone even posted a cryptic comment on one of Clara's Instagram reels. Funny how you call yourself a family values coach when your own brother just sued you for fraud. They deleted the comment, but not before hundreds saw it. At first, I thought I'd feel vindicated. Instead, I just felt quiet. One morning, Isabel handed me an envelope. It was the first court-ordered restitution check. The amount was enough to pay off the last chunk of the villa renovations. I held it in my hands for a long moment before sliding it into the deposit box. That's it? She asked gently. That's it. No champagne, no celebration, just a closed door. Back in the city, my parents' home, the same sprawling suburban house where I'd been told not to embarrass myself with low expectations turned into a different kind of cage. Clara posted fewer and fewer photos. When she did, they were curated within an inch of their life, close crops, filtered smiles, all captioned with hollow affirmations like, healing starts within. But people weren't buying it. Her sympathy fishing post, sometimes people you love choose hate over healing, got ratioed so badly she disabled comments. One of her clients left a review on her coaching site that read, "Wish I'd known she was the kind of person who steals from her own brother's child." That one stayed up for 4 days before she finally took the whole site offline. The family group chat, the one I'd left months earlier, crumbled without a sinner. Mom still tried to revive it. She sent a message on her birthday. "Would love to see everyone again soon. We need to come back together." No one replied. I heard through Ryan that Clara tried filing a motion to appeal the restraining order. It was denied. The judge added a note, "No further contact unless initiated by Mr. Turner." I never did. Isabel and I talked about it once. She asked if I wanted to say anything, to send a final message. I thought about it, then shook my head. They know exactly what they did. I'm not giving them another platform. Their silence wasn't peace. It was erosion. Behind closed doors, they were turning on each other. Ryan's office received copies of separate letters. One from my dad's lawyer trying to place financial blame on Clara. Another from Clara accusing my parents of dragging her into something she didn't fully understand. They had started devouring each other to survive. I didn't celebrate that either. I just moved on. Jasper and I started taking longer walks. Isabel and I hosted small dinners at the villa, the kind where no one needed a dress code or a curated Instagram story. Just warmth, laughter, real people. The restitution checks kept coming. I donated the last 2 anonymously to a local scholarship fund for first-generation college students. The irony didn't escape me. One evening, I got an email from an old college professor. He'd seen the post I wrote months ago, the one that started it all. "Proud of you, Mason," he wrote, "not just for the work you're doing, but for who you're becoming." I stared at it for a long time, then replied, "Took me a while, but I finally got here." I never saw my parents again. The house they once bragged about became a mausoleum of resentment. Neighbors whispered about fights. Clara stopped visiting. My dad sold his boat. My mother canceled her tennis club membership. It all slipped away. And still, none of them ever apologized. None of them ever said the words I used to beg for as a kid. "I'm sorry. You deserved better." But I didn't need them to anymore. I'd already given that to myself. These days, I wake up to the sound of waves and birdsong instead of email notifications or passive-aggressive voicemails. The villa sits on a bluff just outside Mendocino, wrapped in glass and coastal fog. The mornings are quiet, peaceful. I walk barefoot across reclaimed hardwood floors, coffee mug in hand, and I still catch myself pausing just to take it all in. Not because it's luxurious, but because it's mine. Every inch of it, paid for in full, not just with money, but with hard choices, bruised pride, and the decision to finally choose myself. Jasper usually beats me to the porch, tail wagging, ears perked like he's the king of the coast. Isabel joins us a little later, wrapped in a blanket, her head resting on my shoulder as we watch the fog pull back from the cliffs. We don't talk much in the mornings. We don't need to. A few months after the court ruling, I was promoted to head of cybersecurity at the firm. The irony isn't lost on me. I built systems to protect companies from threats, while for years I couldn't protect myself from the ones closest to me. But that's different now. My boundaries aren't just legal. They're personal, solid, unshakable. Our wedding was exactly what we wanted. Small, outdoors, just us, a few close friends, and a barefoot officiant who doubled as a jazz guitarist. No matching place settings, no gift registry, just wine, honest vows, and a lot of happy tears. We held it in the Greenhouse Cafe, where the engagement party was supposed to be. Only this time, we bought out the entire rooftop. Isabel wore a dress with pockets. I wore a blue linen suit. Jasper wore a bow tie and promptly rolled in a flower bed 5 minutes after the ceremony. Everyone laughed. There were no rehearsed speeches, no table seating drama, just people who loved us exactly as we were, who showed up because they wanted to, not because they were expected to, and not a single blood relative in sight. After the ceremony, Isabel and I walked alone down the boardwalk path as the sun set, hand in hand. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like I was carrying anything. No shame, no guilt, no hunger for someone's approval. Just air in my lungs and the woman I loved beside me. Later that night, I made one final post. No hashtags, no long captions. Just a picture of me and Isabel standing on the edge of the cliff behind the villa, barefoot and beaming, with Jasper between us. You can choose your family. You can choose your peace. You just have to be brave enough to let go of what hurts you. Then I opened my contacts, scrolled past the names, Dad, Mom, Clara, and hit delete. Each one gone with a single tap. It didn't feel like revenge. It felt like release. I shut off my phone, stepped outside. Isabel was waiting for me, barefoot in the grass, 2 glasses of wine in hand. "Done?" she asked. "Done," I said. And just like that, it was over. No more explaining, no more defending, no more apologizing for being the version of myself they never bothered to understand. I was free, and this time, I wasn't going back.